tell the store manager, hey, enforce it, let them know. And if they're not doing it, let us know. And then we can follow up with those stores, because I've heard some of the same stories. Fortunately, the stores I've been going into recently, I haven't seen too much of that. But I think the enforcement piece is going to continue to be really, really important. And we will, I think, cite those who are going to flout the law, because this is about public health.
Okay. Thank you, John. John, the number you're talking about that we can call, can you put that on the chat for us?
I will. I did put in the chat where you can register your cell phone.
Yeah, we got that.
That's in there. I will get the DA number and come up with it and put it in the chat.
Okay. We have two more questions. The first is from Adrian Warmsley, and then next from Adrian Carlson. So Adrian Warmsley, you're next.
Yes, hi. So mine's kind of just like a question and just an idea. So I know that earlier you were talking about passing out infographics about the coronavirus and things like that and how to prevent it and wearing a mask. But also, you know, I think people are very smart, and I think if people had more like facts about how, you know, wearing a mask works, you know, as far as like I feel like there's no solid facts about why people should wear a mask. If you just tell people to wear a mask, it's like telling, you know, not to compare people to children, like adults to children, but you tell a child, like, put on a mask. Like, why? Because I said so. It's kind of like, okay, but why am I doing it? Like, if we saw it more numbers about, like, you know, it reduces transmission by 30%, or it, you know, it has that, I don't know, just more information like that, stuff that we get in hospitals maybe, because I'm a nursing student, stuff that information we might get in the hospital among staff, but not really talked about to the lay person.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'm sorry, when you're done, we can have Dr. McNitt, our health officer, can respond on that.
Yeah, so maybe just having an infographic about that. And then two, maybe, you know, instead of just like calling police officers, and just know that, like, in, you know, from being a person of color, and just knowing that, like, my first instinct is not to call the police,
right,
or to call somebody in management or whatever. But if maybe, you know, giving out masks, you know, if I know that a police officer or manager is just going to give out masks instead of telling a person, like, to get out of the store, you know, which can escalate a situation, but just having more resources to pass out masks, somebody doesn't have one. And again, referring to the infographic about why we should wear a mask.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Dr. McNitt, would you like to answer that?
By the way, thank you.
I think those are both really good suggestions. I can definitely take that back to our public information team about putting out more messages about why it's important to wear a mask. And I also wanted to just kind of make a comment going back to the first question. You know, it is important to wear masks when you're in public places, but also just to remind people that you should wear a mask and social distance at all times when you're around people who are outside of your household. Because we tend to see that people are, you know, sort of on guard and are careful when they're around people that they don't know, but they tend to drop their guard when they're around people that they do know. And so then we do see outbreaks happening amongst extended family members and in other places where close family and friends tend to gather and not practice masking and social distancing. And the other comment made by, I'm sorry, I forgot your name already, but about, you know, if you do call someone or, you know, tell someone about a concern about people not masking, having whoever is doing that enforcement have a bunch of masks in their back pocket to give them out. I think that's a really great idea.
Okay, thank you.
We've been getting masks out to groups and churches who've needed them. We actually have a large supply of masks that, not cloth masks, but they're more of a, you know, they're like a, not quite a surgical mask, lower level of that. And so please contact our office. And if it's for a group setting, the stores should have, I mean, they're in business. There have been many who've been trying to provide masks for people that don't have it, to let them in their store. So that's, and we've encouraged them to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Adrian Carlson.
Hi, I'm actually the teacher with these students, but the comment that I wanted to make is more of an example of systems things besides the masks. And it's a particular example that the Lucky's at the plaza, early on in this, they had 2 doors, and originally you could go in and out both. They closed one, and you have to go in and out one. And this creates a situation. I've seen everybody wearing their masks in the store for the most part, everything. I have no complaints about that from the patronage. But they're requiring us to go in and out past each other in a doorway that is probably less than 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
I have gone to the manager 3 times and politely and firmly explained why there's something wrong with this system. People come to there'll be like 6 people here and 2 people with carts, and everybody stops. They don't quite know what to do because they're trying to do the right thing. When I've gone to the management, they tell me, well, they're doing that because they're cleaning the carts on that end, and they need to be able to keep an eye on the carts. My suggestion of having them have someone to clean carts on both ends didn't go over. And the other reason I was given is because they couldn't keep an eye on the other door for the homeless people who brought in their dirty carts. And so I personally have tried, and been very polite about it, to escalate this situation. And as of the last time I went in Lucky's, we're still going through the same single door.
Yeah. I think that's something we'll raise and bring back to our folks who are working with, their guidelines that have been put out for retail. And part of this is, on a case-by-case basis, how do we provide the best sort of information? And with restaurants, it's been through our environmental health department.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing that they mentioned to me was that if I continued to complain, they would have to just have us all line up outside. And did I want that to happen?
Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Adrian. Our next question is from Cheryl Chambers, and then Phyllis White, you're next.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, everyone. My question is for Dr. McNitt. I'm not totally aware, and if you could share what levels our county, Contra Costa, and other counties need to be at to get off the watch list, and then where we as residents could find that information. That's my question. But then I also have a comment on the mask, that I think when we've been emphasizing that the masks are to protect other people, unfortunately, people are often very selfish. I think if the message was put on the mask to protect yourself, more people would be wearing the mask. So just something, I don't know if you want to, distort the message, but I think that's why a lot of people are selfishly not wearing the mask, because it's not for them, it's for others. But I look forward to your question or my answer, Doctor. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think the mask issue is difficult for that reason. I think we're a very independent and freedom-loving society, and we don't place a lot of emphasis on making I think the concept of making yourself personally uncomfortable to help other people is something that is not highly valued in our society. So, I mean, I think the mask, how it works functionally is the main way that a face covering works is to protect other people. So the secretions that come from your nose or your mouth are, what carries the virus. And when those secretions land on other people's faces and gets into their nose or their mouth, that's how they get sick. So what the face covering does, it prevents those secretions from traveling far from your face. If you cough or when you talk or you sneeze, the secretions end up in the mask and not on the person in front of you. And so it does offer some protection for you as well. So if you're talking to someone and their secretions kind of fly out from behind their mask, or if they're not wearing a mask, then you have some protection because those droplets could land on the mask and not on you, but your eyes might be unprotected. So it's possible that those droplets could go into your eye. So the social distancing, that kind of means that the social distancing piece is also really important, staying at least 6 feet away. But trying, I think part of this too is that the response to this situation has been so politicized. It's been really hard to really fine tune the messaging because it has become so political. But that's definitely some useful feedback. But I think it is a difficult line to walk. I mean, you would hope that most people, when you say I wear my mask to protect you, that would resonate with people. And it's unfortunate that maybe in some situations that it doesn't. In terms of the monitoring list, there is information on the state website, and when I'm done talking, I can try and put it into the chat. But it goes into a lot of detail about what indicators can put counties on the monitoring list. The main issue for Contra Costa right now is the number of cases per 100,000. So we're over the threshold of 100 per 100,000. We would have to be below that before the state would consider taking us off the monitoring list.
Okay, we have time for a few more questions because we have
Linda, can I just say one thing in response to what Cheryl said? 'Cause on Cheryl's question, maybe because I'm not a doctor, I'll say this. Doctors are really looking closely at the studies. So there've been some studies, right, Dr. McNitt, that are beginning to suggest that there's some benefit to protecting yourself. It's still, right, those are some studies. So I've been putting a message out that protect yourself and others, especially our more older family members. So I'm beginning to do that ever since I saw that there were some studies that begin to suggest that there's some benefit to you, clearly not the same benefit as to others. So I don't think it's inaccurate to say that. And so I've been saying that.
No,
all your points are right, that it's designed for other people, and we're in a society where many people care about others, and unfortunately, I think not a majority, but a number of people don't as much, so I think it is important what's the best way to reach people.
Okay, before we go on, I want to ask Scott, how much time do you need for your PowerPoint? Because we're at 11 o'clock, well, 10:57. So how much time? Make sure we have enough time for your PowerPoint in its entirety.
So I probably need 20 minutes, and then we have some time for questioning.
Okay, so we'll take a few more questions, and then we're going to move on to our information about voting. And so save the questions you can't answer right now to at the end, because John's going to stay on, and Dr. McNitt, will you stay on for the end of the Zoom? Okay, so they'll still be on to ask questions after. But Phyllis has been waiting, and so I'm going to let her give her question.
Thank you. My question is for Dr. McNitt. I'm curious about the relationship between the flu shot and the COVID-19 virus. Is there any benefit or protection provided by taking the flu shot? And also about the flu shot, I think it's directed for fall infections. Is it too soon to take it now?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So it is too soon for the flu shot. They actually are not out yet. They usually come out, we start getting delivery, I think in September, October, late September, October. So the connection between the flu shot and the reason that we are really encouraging people to get the flu shot this year, and the federal government has actually secured about twice as many doses of flu shot as we usually get, is that it's not that it offers any protection against COVID, but if we have cases of COVID and then we have a lot of cases of flu, that's going to severely impact our healthcare system. It'll also, make, it kind of make things more difficult in terms of diagnosis, because then is it flu or is it COVID? And even if the flu shot, the flu shot is never 100% effective, but getting the flu shot reduces your risk of having very severe flu. And so we want to see much fewer sick people in the fall, whether it's flu or COVID. And we want to see if people do get the flu, we want to see them have milder disease, which tends to happen when you get the flu shot. So that's kind of the connection. Not that the flu shot protects you from COVID, but we don't want to have two outbreaks going on at the same time. And we want people to be as protected as they can be.
Okay, we have one more question I think we're going to take from Megan Canless. Megan, you want to give us your question?
Yes, thank you. My question is kind of in relation to Alta Bates Hospital. I attended a town forum in El Cerrito earlier this year discussing the possible closure of Alta Bates. And I was wondering, since the COVID outbreak, if Alta Bates is being used as a resource to treat COVID patients, if it has kind of halted that progression of closing.
I actually don't know. Supervisor Joy, I don't know.
Yeah, I was actually talking to one of my staff to get information on the DA number. So can you repeat that? Because I just got off the phone with my staff to get the DA number because I couldn't find it. Megan?
Yeah, sorry. So my question was in relation to Alta Bates closing, if basically the COVID outbreak has postponed or delayed that closure.
Okay. So, Sutter has made this indication, right, that this is what they've announced, although everything's not final, that they were going to close Alta Bates prior to 2030, which is the state deadline to meet the new seismic requirements for hospitals. So I have not heard anything from Sutter about any changes on that. Obviously, we have said, I think both our county and myself personally and many who live in West County, that the closure of Alta Bates has negative impacts for us from an emergency room capacity standpoint. So that is that does have impacts. But I have not heard, and we've advocated clearly for more emergency room capacity, more hospital bed capacity, and not having a closure of Alta Bates. So I have not heard Sutter change their decision, but they basically, the deadline is 2030. And they have not publicly said, I don't think they ever publicly gave a date other than sometime prior to 2030. So is this affecting what they're doing? It may, but I have not heard anything on that yet. Is that sort of answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Supervisor Joya. We're now going to move on, and I'm going to share the screen.
Yes, thank you very much. So we're going to take a little break from information where we're talking to another form of performing how we feel about the coronavirus. We heard a poem from middle college high school students. And so now we're going to see a short dance, like 2 minutes of a dance called Trapped in Moment. Jessie Cronenberg is a dance instructor at El Cerrito High School. And she too had to stop her program and shelter in place. So she did her dance recital, a virtual dance recital, and the students choreographed movement around how they felt when they had to shelter in place. We're going to show you one of their movements called Trapped in a Moment. I think her face at the end says it all, how these young people felt, having to perform at home in their living rooms, in their backyards, but they did it. And this was called Trapped in a Moment. Our next area is on voting. And I don't know how many people on this screen have questions about voting. How do we vote? Where do we go? When do we get our ballots? I can raise my hand. Madeline, do you have any answers?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we went to the expert to answer these questions. Scott Konopasek is the Contra Costa County Assistant Registrar of Voters, who's going to answer all of our questions, and we're going to leave here informed voters. So Scott, you're on.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, that's an old picture of me. I wish I were still that young and handsome. Can we go to the next slide, please, Madeline? There we go. Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about voting and our plans and preparations for the November election. We're in full election mode right now, and we've been working very hard. The whole team has been working very hard, and a lot of our plans and preparations are finally coming together in some detail. So some of the information that I'm going to share with you today really hasn't previously been shared just because of where we're at in the cycle. Next slide. So the elections in the United States were declared part of the national critical infrastructure in 2016 because of the foreign interference in the election. And when the governor issued his emergency declaration in March, he designated elections and election staff as essential workers. And we take that challenge and very seriously. We seriously believe in what we do, and we're committed to serving democracy and the voters in our county. And I think it's really important for Contra Costa County voters to know that we really do have America's best election team. And as we talk through some of the preparations and plans that we have, I think you'll understand why I feel so confident in saying that. Next slide. We have an award-winning team here, nationally recognized for our excellence. Next slide. It always takes a lot of work and effort to prepare for presidential election. And we've known for years that this is going to be a historic election. We started planning over a year ago. So last summer, as we sat down and we started doing our plans, we focused on cybersecurity and wildfires as being two challenges that we needed to be planning for and planning around as we went into, as we made our plans for the November election. And as we went into the fall, all of a sudden we found a new challenge that cropped up is when we started having the power shut, public safety power shutdowns. So we started to incorporate contingency plans for those things as well. And then as we were coming down the home stretch for the March primary election, we had the sudden departure of our clerk. But things never missed a beat. The elections division kept firing on all cylinders, and we rolled out into March's primary election with a great plan and actually a great election. But just as we were starting to vote in that election, we had the coronavirus pandemic hit us and be declared. And we worked through that and completed the canvass of the March election while the shelter-at-home orders were issued. And we were able to complete our work in anyway. And since that time, we've been working from home. The entire elections division has been working at home for months, and we're going to be bringing our full cohort of folks back into the office starting next week, so we can continue to prepare for the November election. And as we continue to make our plans and refine our plans, we found that we continue to have new challenges that we need to take into account. We have the economic shutdown, we have social unrest, and most recently we've had the politicization of the USPS. It makes us wonder, okay, what else is going to happen? The doctor talked about the flu coming back in the fall, and there are reports that certain political parties might have law enforcement patrolling polls on election day to secure the vote. So next slide. So we've taken all those things into account, and we've put together our plan for the election. And what has changed? We get asked that all the time. What has changed? And for most voters, there's not going to be any visible changes. 75% of our voters already have requested their ballot by mail, and they get it and they voted, and everything's going to look almost identical to them. There's another 25% who are going to be mailed a ballot for the very first time, which is about 160,000 voters. For them, it's going to look a little bit different. And as we've refined our plans to accommodate all these challenges, we found that we only need to expand our existing programs. We started our Dropbox program back in 2014, and we had Vote Center / early voting since 2016. So basically, we've modified and just scaled what we're already doing. So most of those changes will really be behind the scenes and not really visible to most people. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've done to enhance our vote by mail processes and plans, to expand our Dropbox program, to expand early voting, and how we're maintaining our election day polling places, and touch briefly on some of the PPE and distancing protocols and countermeasures that we're putting in place. But before I talk in detail about those, next slide. We're asked all the time, what are the timelines? When are the ballots going out? So just briefly, on September 24th, our voter information guide is scheduled to be mailed to all voters in the county. And on October 5th or earlier, we will mail all the ballots out to voters. And in-person voting will begin in Martinez. We've moved it outside of our office to the former Moose Lodge, or it's now a Cornerstone Church, right across the street from our office. So we can have social distancing and health protocols in place. we will open all of our ballot drop boxes as of that day, and we'll begin receiving ballots. So on October 29th, we will have 16 early voting sites open up. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And on November 3rd, Election Day, we will have our full complement of polling places. That's also the postmark deadline for people who are returning their ballots by mail. And one of the changes made by the governor and the legislature in response to the current pandemic is that they will allow us to accept and count ballots received by November 20th, provided that they have been postmarked on or before Election Day. Next slide. Okay, some of the things we've done for vote by mail is we've upgraded our USPS accounts to speed delivery and enable ballot tracking. We've expanded the use of first class mail. Typically we mail, because of the large number of ballots that we mail them at a bulk rate. We will mail the first major mailing will be at the bulk rate, but after that, with it starting at 30 days prior to the election, all ballots mailed out will be sent out first class. We have included I voted stickers. Oops, please go back. We've included I voted stickers for the first time in the ballots. That one incentive that people have of going to the polls or showing up in person, we've tried to accommodate by giving people their I voted sticker right away. We did an outreach to that 160,000 non-vote by mail voters that I mentioned earlier, that for whom this is going to be new. We mailed to them, explained what the process is, explained that they're going to get a ballot in the mail, and offered them an opportunity to update the signature that we have on file for them so we can ensure that we count their ballot when they return their ballot. And to date, we've had over 40,000 of those cards returned, updating their signatures, which is a 25% return rate, which is astronomical compared to the normal return rate we get when we talk to voters. So people are taking this seriously, and people are very focused on making sure they're prepared to have their vote counted. We're planning on getting our ballots in the mail as soon as they are ready. Our etched in stone mailing date is October 5th, but we're going to try to get them into the mail stream a week earlier, just to mitigate any delays in delivery of the mail. Now we are also advising voters that if they have not received their ballot by the 19th of October, they should contact our office by phone or by email, and we will reissue them a ballot and send them another ballot. But we need to give a little bit of transit time for the ballots to get into the hands of voters. But by the 19th, or even by the 15th, if voters don't have it, they need to let us know. Also, we are participating with the state in a program called Ballot Tracks that voters can sign up for. It's a program they have to opt into. If they do, they will receive emails and text notifications of the status of their ballot at each step of the way, from the time it's mailed to them to the time we receive it and we count it. So that's a new program. Details of all these things will be included in the voter information guide that is going out to voters. Okay, next slide. Oops. There we go. Drop boxes. Boy, the last week we've got a million questions about drop boxes, and we understand why. But again, we feel like we are way ahead of the curve. We've been doing drop boxes since 2014. Most of them have been inside city clerk offices, but because of the pandemic, a lot of the inside drop boxes are not going to be available to us. But in anticipation of the election, anyway, we ordered 3 dozen of these high security drop boxes that are open 24/7 that will be distributed around the county. So we're scaling up from 12 that we had in March to 37. And we will still have inside drop boxes where it's possible to have them. These drop boxes are a high security design to prevent tampering, and we will be servicing these boxes every day with 2 election staff. So voters can have confidence in dropping their ballots in there, that they will be received, they'll be secure, and they'll be received by us and processed by us within 24 hours. Okay, next slide. Oop, there we go. Here is the, as of today, these are the locations of the permanent drop boxes across the county. You can see that we have, they're pretty equally distributed throughout the county. Okay, next slide. Early voting. We've been doing early voting since 2016, and to be honest, it hasn't previously been a very popular or well-used service that we've offered. Those who have taken advantage of it really appreciate it. But because of the current situation, we've expanded from the 3 early voting sites that we had in March to 16 for the November elections. Each one of these will be open 4 days, including election day, and all the services to include registering to vote will be available at these sites. Now, in order to get enough locations and also to mitigate against wildfires and power shutdowns, we have 10 of these locations will be outdoor. They will be in these large tents. They will have their own power generation and will be completely independent of the power grid, and will give us the space that we need for social distancing and accessibility. So we're really excited about this. I believe we're the only ones in the state who are doing anything like this. But we think this is really going to augment and be a great resource to voters who need to vote early and vote in person. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's, as of today, we've almost confirmed every location, but this is where we will have our early voting locations, our in-person early voting locations. There should be a big giant pin on Martinez, because that's our office, and voting will start there 29 days. And these early vote locations will be open starting the 30th of October. So Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, next slide.
Scott, before you move on that.
Yes.
So I want to make sure you're addressing this and polling places, because as you know, I've talked to the registrar, Debbie Cooper, about having the importance of having many more early voting locations.
Supervisor Joya, let me do my next slide or two.
Okay, good.
I anticipate your question.
Got it.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here we go. On election day, in addition to the 16 early voting sites, we will have at least 150 polling places open for voters. These largely will be the exact same locations that voters voted in March. Now, we've lost a few locations that aren't available, but we have reasonable solutions for those voters as well. So Supervisor Joya, we are responsive to the concerns that you raised, and to make sure that all of our voters have an opportunity to vote. We have this expansive in-person voting opportunity for everyone. Now, having said that, we really hope that most people vote the ballot that we sent by mail, because we believe it to be the safest thing from a public health perspective. But we understand that there are needs and situations where people need to vote in person. So we are going way out of our way. And we're able to do that, actually, because our polling places have been extremely willing and flexible to work with us and to continue to offer their locations and they've done it at an unexpectedly high rate. Similarly, our poll workers have responded at a surprisingly high rate, saying that they will continue to work and they will commit to work in March, which is what has allowed us to expand the number of locations here. So at every polling place is going to be the same as any polling place is for any other election. There'll be hand marked paper ballots available, and there'll be machine marked ballots. The only thing that's really different, besides PPE and distancing at these polling places, is we are moving from a paper roster to sign in and verify voters to an electronic system that real time can verify the status of a voter and tell us what ballot style the voter needs. And any voter will be able to vote any ballot at any location. And this will eliminate the need for almost all provisional ballots. And it will also give us near real-time turnout information and data, so that if we see that a location is experiencing an increased turnout or flood, we're able to respond proactively to get help out there, or to redirect voters to places that don't have a line. So this is a huge upgrade to our capacity, and is a great service to our voters. But I just want to point out that people who volunteer to work at the polls during this pandemic are true heroes. They're drawn from some of the most vulnerable population that is there, but they're willing to do this because of their commitment to democracy. And it's the same with our staff. They are committed to do their part to ensure that every voter in Contra Costa County gets an opportunity to vote and can have confidence that their votes will be counted. Okay, next slide. Okay. So we also received a lot of questions about, is it secure? And Supervisor Joya spoke about some of the comments by the president about the reliability and security of vote by mail. But I want you to know that we are very, very good at vote by mail. And I just want to kind of walk you through some of the steps and that we go through, because I found as people understand what goes on behind the scenes, it really boosts their confidence. So next slide. Okay, so every day we pick up ballots from the post office, and we pick up ballots from our drop boxes and bring them to our facility on Marina Vista in Martinez. Okay, next slide. Go ahead and hit play. If it's there, there we go. So the first thing that happens when we get the envelopes is they go through this sorting machine that takes a picture of the voter's signature and the voter's information and sends it to our voter registration system. Next slide. Which presents the voter's signature to us to review and to compare. So this is an example. This is a mock-up, obviously, because Mickey and Minnie really aren't voters in Contra Costa County. We all know they're registered in Orange County. But it compares the signature on file, which is the upper signature, to the signature off of the envelope that just was scanned on that machine, which is the lower signature. And the comparison is made, and this represents some of the situations that come up. In the first example, Minnie's signature does not match. It might match. It might still be Minnie. We're going to let Minnie know that we have an issue with her signature and give her a chance to cure it, but we're not going to process that ballot until it's cured. Mickey's ballot, on the other hand, is a match. That's going to continue on through the process. You see Sally signed Scrooge McDuck's ballot, so it's not the right person. So we're going to reach out to Scrooge and give him a chance to cure that situation. But we're also going to look for Scrooge's ballot, or Scrooge's signature on Sally's ballot. So we're going to try to do that, compare and match them up. And if we can, then we will count both of them. If not, we give them both an opportunity to correct the situation. And Scooby forgot to sign his ballot. So Scooby's going to be notified that his ballot that he didn't sign his ballot. He's going to be given a chance to sign and return a letter to, so we can cure that situation and allow his ballot to be counted. We do this for every envelope that comes back. Voters really don't believe it. It's extremely intensive. Things go through multiple reviews before they are rejected, and voters are all given a chance to correct the situation. But one of the things, and we've been getting a lot of questions from voters about this. One of the things we're advising voters is, if you're not sure how your signature appears in your registration, look at your driver's license, because chances are we have your driver's license signature on file. And if you sign the way you signed your driver's license, everything is going to be great. You're not going to have any problem. If there is an issue, we will let voters know. It's important that voters understand that we do not willy-nilly disqualify, throw out, don't count, vote by mail ballots. We do everything we can to qualify them, and to include reaching out multiple times to voters to give them a chance to cure any problems that come up. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a video. If you could hit play again. Okay, so once the signatures have been verified and the ballot has been qualified to be counted, we have to open them up. Then we have to remove the ballot cards. In this election for November, we expect there to be 5 cards in each voter's ballot. Okay, next slide. Again, hit play. So the process of removing the envelopes, the ballots from the envelopes and accounting for everything is a very manual process. You might want to hit, can you hit that again? Let people see that one more time. So this is sped up only slightly, because we work really hard and really fast to have everything ready to be counted. Now this function here, if you notice, this is not, there's no social distancing here. There's no PPE, there's no protection. We have leased a gym, a giant gymnasium that has the equivalent square footage of 4 basketball courts across the street from our office near Amtrak. And we will be doing the same function with people with social distancing starting a week before the election. So in the past, we tried to do it in one day, but as part of the COVID precautions, we're extending it out over time, and we are changing the location where this function actually occurs. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this is animated too. So this is the process of actually scanning and counting the ballots. We have 4 of these high-speed scanners that we count all the ballots on. Now, because this is a 6-card ballot, and we expect to have at least 500,000 people vote. Actually, we expect a lot more than that. But that puts us at between 3 and 4 million cards that we have to scan in order to produce election reports and election results. We are very efficient in our workflows and in how we do that. Like I said, we're very good at it. But it's a lot of work to do all of these things and to do them in a way that voters can have confidence. So by the way, everything that you've seen here, you can come visit live. And anyone who has any concerns or has any interest in how we do things are welcome to come and watch as we perform these tasks. Okay, next slide. Okay, and once all the ballots are scanned, we're not done. This one's not animated. We have to reconcile and balance everything to make sure that we didn't miss anything. We didn't count something twice that shouldn't have been counted. So we spend almost 30 days doing this audit to make sure that the final certified returns are accurate. Okay, next slide. Okay, so just in review, I see there's a number of questions that have come in the chat, and I'll happily address those in a second. But for most voters, there's not going to be any visible changes. Most of the changes are behind the scenes. We are prepared, and we actually had the infrastructure in place to deal with potential postal delays. We will actually have more in-person voting opportunities in November than what we had in March. And at the same time, we're doing everything we can to protect our workers and voters. So our tagline for this election is be safe, vote at home. Nevertheless, we have all these in-person voting opportunities for those who need to avail themselves of them. Okay, next slide.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Before you answer questions, I want to thank you for presenting the information, very detailed. Like I said, we're all going to be informed voters when we leave here. Before you go to your chat, we have one question. I told her I would call her first, and that's Joanna Pace. And then we can go to the chat, okay? Joanna?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Konopasek. I'm asking I actually have a couple questions. I'm asking them from the point of view of someone who has worked the polls for the last, I'm a member of the church that hosts the polling place. And so I've been very closely involved the last 3 elections. And I'm trying to write an article for the neighborhood newsletter to pass on this information to the neighbors. And so my first question is, if we could put into the chat, you said that if they don't receive their ballot by October 19th, to either call or email your office. So if you could put that email and that phone number into the chat, that would be very helpful. And
Okay.
then I wanted to ask you, can you explain, and I'm not a member of the League of Women Voters, so probably most of the women in the league know this, but can you remind us what the strip of paper is that gets posted outside the polling place? Is that done at the end of the polling evening, or is that done days later? And how will that information that's there, how will that be presented to the public in this situation where so many people are going to vote by mail?
Okay, good. That's a good question. And that strip of paper that gets posted at the polls at the end of the night is really a relic of an earlier time with earlier voting processes and technologies, but it's still a requirement in the law. So what happens at the end of the night at a polling place, the workers, when they shut down the scanner that the voters have scanned their ballots through, it produces a report of all the votes that scanner counted.
Ah, okay.
So that strip of paper is just, it's a report of everything that was counted that was put through that machine. Now, the actual results come back to us on an electronic card that we upload. And we have a copy of that paper strip in case there's a malfunction or something with the card. And the strip is posted at the polling place for anyone who's curious as to how voters in that area who voted at that place voted on that day. So that it has no real effect on the overall process. Like I said, it's kind of a hat tip to an earlier time, but we continue to do it because it remains something that's in the code.
Okay. One of the chats, Scott, from Adrian Carlson, is when is the last date to register to vote?
Oh, actually, a new answer to that question from previous years. It's election day. Okay. We still have on the books a 15-day registration deadline, which is October 19th. So to register by mail or to register online, it needs to be done by October 19th. A person can register in person after that through and including election day at any polling place, at any one of our early voting sites, or in our office.
Yeah. Okay. The next chat question is from Adrian Warmsley, and it's where in Richmond is the early voting?
Okay, so right now we have 3 early voting sites planned for the Richmond area. One at the, I don't remember the exact name, the Convention Center or Conference Center, right downtown as part of the civic complex. The El Cerrito Community Center and Hilltop Mall are the 3 locations in West County where we will have early voting locations. Again, they will be open starting on the 30th of October through and including Election Day.
Okay. This is from Charlotte Gilbert. How do you make sure someone doesn't vote by mail and at the polling place too?
Oh, great question. So this is another one of those advantages that the electronic check-in is going to give us. Real time, the poll workers, when they check in a voter, will be able to see if that person has already returned their vote by mail ballot. If they have already returned their vote by mail ballot, they will be offered an opportunity to vote a provisional ballot, and then we can research what the situation is afterwards. Someone who already returned a vote by mail will not be able to vote at the polling place. Now, if somebody votes at a polling place and later we get their vote by mail ballot, we already know that that voter voted at the polling place. So that ballot will be sorted out and rejected by that sorting machine that you saw. And we will go back and review that situation. But we have checks and balances both on the back end with on the vote by mail side with the mail scanning machine. And now for the first time, we have a very effective way at the polling places to make sure that people don't vote twice.
Okay. Now this next question was from Myrtle Braxton. Is postage needed to mail your ballot?
No, absolutely not. All of the return envelopes are business reply mail and can be put directly into the U.S. mail stream. Of course, if you use one of our drop boxes or drop off your ballot at a polling place on election day, you don't need postage. Now, I mentioned earlier that we upgraded some of our services with the post office. One of the downsides that we've discovered with business reply mail is there's an accounting process that the post office does to charge us back for the postage. And historically, that's been a manual process. And with tens of thousands of ballots being returned every day, it easily overwhelms them. And it has in the past delayed us getting hands on those ballots. But the post office has created an automated way of being able to calculate the postage so that the ballots and the envelopes are not delayed on their way to us. But in order to do that, we needed to upgrade some of our accounts and provide additional information on the return envelopes for the voters.
Okay. This question is for Dr. McNitt from Myrtle Braxton. Does wearing eyeglasses help protect against virus entering your body?
Yeah, so glasses can offer some protection. They're not as good as goggles or face shields that you might see someone in a healthcare setting wear, because those will also protect the sides, but they can certainly offer some protection, yes.
Okay. This is from Joanna Pace. It's for you, Scott. Please clarify. For the first time, there will be no paper roster at the polling place. Please clarify.
Yes, so in the past, our poll workers had a paper roster that had the list of voters, the names of the voters assigned to that location, and only the voters assigned to that location. And that, because of the time to print and assemble and distribute those lists, they're always a little bit stale. They're not totally fresh. and they couldn't, there's no way that we could reflect who had already returned a ballot on those lists.
Okay.
So now they have these electronic devices that will be accessing our complete central database as they look up voters, and they'll be able to see on a real-time basis whether or not that voter is voted. And actually, these also allow, let me back up. So in the past, if a voter showed up at a location and it wasn't the right location and their name was on a list at another location, the voter would either have to go to the other location or vote a provisional ballot. But with this electronic technology, we will be able to allow that voter to vote the correct ballot non-provisionally at that location.
Okay. This is from Debbie R. Where on the line is the Dropbox location map you showed us? And if not online, where is the box in San Pablo?
Okay, there will be a box in front of the San Pablo City Hall. We just signed an agreement with them. We will be publishing a list of the exact locations and having a finalized map, searchable map on our website in a couple of weeks. We're still in the process of confirming all of these locations and making sure that we can publish them accurately. So our deadline to get all that information finalized is within the next 10 days. So as soon as we do that, we'll have that information available. And like I said, it will be published and sent out in the voter information guide that every voter gets. It will be up on our website, and we will do social media occasionally to send links and to remind voters that that's available to them.
Okay. This is from Adrian Wormsley. Is there a way to get involved, either volunteering at a booth or helping people register to vote?
Yes, mostly in working at the polls. We need volunteers. Inevitably, and we just know human nature is, of the poll workers who have committed to work, we know that we're gonna have some attrition. So we need a large reserve, a pool of people who are willing to serve that we can plug in, when we need them. And anyone interested in volunteering to be a poll worker, or the process of removing the ballots from the envelopes, can sign up at cocoteam.us. cocoteam.us. And indicate your interest, and if you're interested in working for daily for a period of 3 weeks for $75 a day, doing the extraction of the envelopes, let us know that. If you're interested in working at the polls on election day, you can sign up and let us know that that's what you're interested in doing as well. But probably the most important thing, most valuable thing this group can do is to be our ambassadors to the community. You guys are trusted voices, sources of trustworthy information to communities that we may not be. And you have more intimate and frequent interactions with voters and people in your community than what we do. All of our efforts are at the macro level. We're focused on trying to communicate to 700,000 voters all at the same time. And not every message resonates with all of them, and we don't have the frequency and repetition of interactions. So groups like the League of Women Voters can play an essential role, particularly this year, in getting out accurate, factual information to our voters in this day and age that factual information is fairly scarce.
Okay, the next question is for Dr. McNitt. Are you anticipating fewer flu cases this season due to the fact that most people are now wearing masks?
I don't want to make any predictions, but I think that would be great. I think we're hopeful that we'll see a decrease in all kinds of respiratory diseases if people, continue to mask and to practice good hand hygiene. I think that would be a really nice outcome.
And that question was from Fiona Dacko. Sorry about that. Joanna Pace wants to know, electronic device needs strong internet connectivity. Yes.
True. So all these devices have their own cellular connection to the internet. And if one of them goes down, they automatically network together and can all piggyback on that one signal of the one device that is moving. But also these tablets can function in a standalone mode. They also have a static version of the voter information and voter data. So if they have an outage, a short outage of connectivity, they can continue to operate. And as soon as connectivity is restored, the tablet syncs back up with the central database and gets all updated. So it's a very robust system, and we're very confident in it. And we're really excited about the benefit that it offers to voters.
Okay. The next question is from Janet Hoy. Will all polling places have ballots for each precinct available for those not assigned to that polling place?
Good question. So there will be paper ballots for everyone assigned to a polling place there. But we have ballot marking devices that are large tablets where a voter can make their selections and then print off their own paper ballot at that location. So every location will have multiple units there that have every ballot style for every voter in the county.
Okay. The next question is from Adrian Wormsley. Can you post the link for the cocoteam.us?
Sure, that's the link.
Okay, so that's the link, Adrian. And the last question, I know we have two more. This is from Oceana. Would it be prudent to include cell phone cleaning in education? In several places where I shop, I see people with masks and gloves, but then I see them on their phones and bringing it to their faces to talk. Just seems that time is an opportunity to bring awareness to a device that we do depend on in our daily lives. Okay, I guess it's good advice for everybody. And the last question is from Mance. What was the number to register your cell phone for emergency alerts? I don't see it in the chat.
Yeah, I posted it. It's a website. It's posted. If you scroll up, it was posted at 10:32, and it's basically cwsalerts.com/registration, and it's up under 10:32.
Okay.
Hey, Linda.
Yes.
I got a couple private.
Okay, yeah, please answer them.
So I'll try to bundle them up into just one response. They have to do with signatures. We are really good at identifying the evolution of signatures of voters. So if handwriting is a little bit shaky and has changed a little bit, no worries. To be honest, signatures really don't change. And even though things might be wavy or shaky, we can see the signature. And if we can't, we'll reach out to you and let you tell us what's going on. But we will not discount a shaky signature if we get one. And also, I think I may have already answered this other question, but if you forget how you signed, you can do two things. One, you can go back online and update your registration. And then if you do that through the Secretary of State's online registration, it will grab your driver's license signature and send it to us.
Oh.
And all you have to do is look at your driver's license to know what signature we're looking at.
Okay, very good. Well,
Can I say one more thing
yes,
about
please. Yes, John.
about the community warning system? So there's a place to register your cell phone, but there's another thing that's changed, and I just put in the chat. You can email us to get on an email list where we send out information like this. Again, I've included in the chat how you can get on our email list, because one of the emails we're sending out early next week in addition to the registration of your cell phone, is in order for your phone maybe not to block a number it doesn't know, there's a change in the system. You know, when you received a community warning system call, it would show up as all zeros on your phone. And because of some changes in the phone system, it's going to now show up as a phone number. Basically, it's 925-655-0195. And so we're sending it out an announcement. So for those that may want to block numbers that they don't recognize,
Yeah.
it'll tell you how to do this so that so it doesn't get, you know, so you don't block it, and really informs you of this change. Many don't block numbers, but we're sending an email about this new phone number.
Okay.
So that's a change.
Thank you. Good information. Thanks. Madeline, can I have you come back on? We're at the end of our time together, but we want to call on the screen. First of all, I'm going to have our president come on, and she's going to do some thank yous. So we want our president, Cheryl Collier, to open her video. Cheryl, so she can have a few words and give some thank yous. There she is. Can we get your video on?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Here you are.
There you go. There you go. This is our president of the West County League of Women Voters, Cheryl Collier.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for participating. I'm kind of at a disadvantage, so I'm not sure of all of the names of the guest speakers, but I am totally grateful, actually, that you came on to share your information so we're armed with the proper information and what have you. So again, thank you. I see the health director.
That's Dr. Louise McNitt.
Yes. Of course, I know our supervisor, John Joya. I see, was there someone from Health Service Director?
Yeah, that was just Dr. Louise McNitt. We had someone from the county voting, the registrar's office, Scott Konopasik, who gave us information about the voting and the ballots.
Yes, I was able to listen and see him. And again, I'm just going to say thank you very much for all of the speakers that participated today. It is very much appreciated. And we may be calling on you again if it's necessary. But thank you again. And I'd also like to take a time to thank our coordinator and our moderator for doing such a fantastic job today. I appreciate you. I thank you. And I'm going to turn it back over to you because I believe there's something else that you may have to share with us today.
Okay. Well, Madeline and I appreciate everyone accepting our call to be here. Again, Supervisor John Joya, Dr. Louise McNitt, and Scott Konopasik. Thank you very much. Information that we can take out and share with our neighbors and with our community. Madeline, you want to say anything?
I just wanted to agree with you and thank you and thank Cheryl for coming. And Cheryl did want to do a shout out to Rita Xavier. And here is Rita, who is our former president of the West Contra Costa County League of Women Voters. And we just wanted, Rita's not here. Rita had to be at another meeting right now. But we wanted everyone to know that we are appreciating Rita and giving Rita a recognition plaque, which we were going to give to her at this meeting, but we will make sure that it gets delivered to her.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, we'll explain the next video, next slide.
So the next slide is
Madeline.
For those of you who saw the performances earlier and would like to actually see the entire show that each of those came from, these are the links that you can use to watch them. So the one for the dance performance, you can just go to tinyurl. I just made a shortened link for you. So you can go to tinyurl.com and put in "trapped in a moment." And for the acrostic poem, pandemic poem, Corona Thoughts. Go to same one, tiny URL, pandemic poem. And both of them will take you to the El Cerrito High School Dance Program and the Middle College program.
Right. And both of these can be found on the League of Women's Facebook page. Is that our next share?
And we will be having a candidate forum. The links to those will also be on the Facebook page. We don't have all of the dates set yet, but they'll be set very soon. So here is our pitch to you to check us out on Facebook. Here it is, Facebook League of Women Voters of West Contra Costa. That's where you're going to find us. And please join us. And that's the place to join us online is at the California League, lwvc.org, join. And when you fill it out and say, it'll ask you which league you want to join, just put in West Contra Costa County.
We also want to mention, and John mentioned earlier, that we were being, I think, live streamed by CCTV.
Right.
And is Elena on to talk about that for a second? No. Well, we're going to put on our Facebook a list of dates where you can go to CCTV and to look at this Zoom forum we just had. And you can go on there and see it again. We're also going to have, we recorded ourselves, and that'll be posted on our Facebook page.
That's right. But just so you know, for those of you who are here, there's a part 1 and a part 2 because I had a hiccup in my connection in the middle. I've got most of it. There's one little part that's going to be missed, but you'll be able to, if you wanted to see the whole thing, I'm sure the CCTV recording, I'll also link to that once they post that on their website.
John, there's a question about CCTV. Can you explain that in a little more detail? People said, what is this?
Sure. So Contra Costa TV is the county's public access TV station. I think it's on channel 27 for most of us. You can also access it online. Our Board of Supervisors meetings are broadcast on that. So our forum today is being broadcast live on, I think it's channel 27 CCTV. And there, as Linda says, there will be future dates for publication, I should say, for rebroadcast of it. And you can go to the county's website, Contra Costa Television. It's basically a public access channel run by Contra Costa County.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
So we have, we're almost at that time. I didn't know if John, you want to have any last statement, or Dr. McNitt, or Scott, before we zoom out.
I just want to thank all of you for doing this. This is a great public service, and there's going to be a lot of important issues on the ballot this November and for us in California and locally, and I know the League is going to get good information out on that. So, and for follow-up, again, I put our email in the chat for you to sign up if you want to get updates on a lot of the topics we talked about today, which we can do. And just to say, be safe. I like Scott's term, be safe, vote at home. Yeah. And I'll add to that, stay home if you're sick or have symptoms, and get tested.
Okay, thank you. Dr. McNitt, any last final words?
Yes, I just want to also say thank you for inviting me. I learned a lot of interesting things today and got some really good feedback from your community. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Scott, I don't see your name. Are you still with us?
I dropped out for a minute. I lost power, but I'm back in.
Do you want to say anything before we go off?
Thank you so much for the invitation to speak. I love talking about what we do. We take great pride in serving the voters of Contra Costa. And if you have any questions at all about what we do, please feel free to reach out to me or to Debbie Cooper, the clerk recorder registrar, and we are happy to provide you any information or support that you guys need.
Okay. So before we zoom out, I want to remind our League board members to stay online. the work goes on for the League of Women Voters. We have a short meeting after this Zoom call, so stay on the line, all the Zoom board members, for a short meeting afterwards. And again, thank you for connecting with us. And everybody be safe, have a great day, and wear your mask. And of course, remember to vote.
Yes. Remember to vote.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're almost there. I see Janet, myself. We have a guest. Phyllis is going to eavesdrop. No, no, she's going to stick with us.
Join us.
She wants to join us. Madeline, we have
Fiona is
Tyra,
here.
we have Anne.
We have a couple of folks that haven't left yet.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
we can give it a minute.
yes. We have Anne. We have the League of Women Voters, Bay Area, is that right? President?
Yeah. I'm going to end the recording.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, Myrtle, I see Myrtle.